Hey everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Really excited to do this. I've been wanting to try the Facebook Live uh, feature for a while, and it was basically just a matter of finding time for me to do it, and also to kind of schedule around all the CW DC shows um, that are on every night of the week. It seems like, which is a good thing, of course. Um, But one of the things I wanted to do with this is not only kind of let you see what I do in terms of my style, but also give you a little bit of information about the difference between this traditional piece and then what I normally do when I work digitally. Um, Obviously, we're drawing Stephen Amell as Green Arrow. This is his season 4 costume. Um, And let me just thank Stephen for giving me a shout out for this. This is um, something. When it's complete, I will have this at my Heroes and Villains Atlanta booth, um, possibly for sale. Haven't decided yet. Um, anyway, so let's get started here. As you can see, I've got a little bit done already. It's I started with a digital drawing. Um, Obviously, you might ask, well, why did I draw digitally to then work traditionally? Um, and one of the reasons I switched to digital is that I had a lot of problems with pressing too hard with pencils on the paper, and it would leave huge grooves, especially in this kind of paper. This is kind of a soft Bristol board, um, and that would make it impossible for me to erase. So I started with a digital drawing, um, transferred it to, printed it out, and then transferred it to this Bristol board with the light box, which is right here underneath. I'm not actually going to be turning the light box on because I'm done with that stage at this point. Um, but that allows me to get the framework, and then I laid in all the flats or base colors, which is something that I do also when I work digitally. Um, One of the differences is that right now there's still just pencil outline. When I work digitally, it'll be completely black. However, when you do that with the markers, the markers tend to bleed, and it'll make the line a little bit blurry. And so what I'm going to do is after all the shading's done with the markers, then I'll go back in and I'll add the outlines with um, just a thin Sharpie. Um, so, and one of the other things that you might, it looks all gray, and it is gray, but there's actually 4 different types of gray on this paper right now. I used French gray for the skin. I have no idea why they call it French gray, but I like the way that ends up looking for skin tones. Um, the green of his outfit is cool gray, um, and I tend to use that for blues and greens and things of that nature. Um, his eyes, the whites of his eyes, and then like the black on his costume, um, that is all neutral gray. Um, and then the last thing I used around the eyes, the black makeup that kind of goes around his eyes when he has his mask on. I used a warm gray, um, just to give it a little bit of a differential, so that the eyes pop a little bit more, and so that there's it doesn't bleed into the mask as much. That allows you to tell that that is the makeup around his eyes. And then I also, for the silver parts, I actually used a silver Sharpie. Um, when I work digitally, um, I tend to use more of a mid-tone for uh, for the flats or the base colors, um, and then I work darker, and then from the base tone up to light as well. With the markers, you can't really do that, so I I used the lowest value, about 10% gray on all the values, just to lay in the flats, and then what I can do is get darker from there. Um, Really, the only way I can get lighter from that is by using white, which I am going to do, but um, whereas in digital I can do 3 or 4 different highlight colors and kind of gradually work up to the white. So I'm going to start with his skin. Oh, okay. I'm being informed that my wife is monitoring the comments, so if you have questions or anything you want to relay, she will pass it along. So we're just going to start with some shading. Um, so this is the French gray again for his skin tone. Um, this is the 20%. I had already laid down um, the 10%, um, and so a lot of this is actually just going to be filling in the entire area again because it'll be in shadow, so it's going to go darker. Um, One of the things I love about drawing Arrow is the lighting. I like using a lot of black and shadows and things like that, and there's never any shortage of that when I'm drawing. Basically, with this, I'm just kind of creating uh, the outline of the different shades. Um, this is pretty much exactly the way I work when I work digital as well. Um, it's something that takes some getting used to, um, but at this point, I don't know that I could do it any other way. um, so, got to make sure to get the scruff in there.
Ladies love the scruff.
Yes, they do. I'd say ladies love every part of him, not just the scruff.
Yeah, you're right. No questions, people?
I'm hoping there's no questions because they're just mesmerized. Questions don't have to all be about the drawing either. They can be whatever you want to know, as long as it's PG-13. And hopefully, if I'm doing this right, the more shades that I do and add, the more you'll see his face kind of come into form. Um, right now it's a little sparse because there's only a few patches of highlights compared to the one shade, but slowly but surely. Moved on to French Gray 30%. One of the reasons I work in all the different gray tones is that it allows you to get the different levels of shading that really isn't available in terms of the Prismacolor markers for color. It allows me to kind of duplicate my process from digital with the markers. And I know that there's other markers out there like Copic and whatnot that would probably allow me to do this in color, but Prismacolor is pretty much what I developed my style using when I was in high school and college. So that's really what I'm most familiar with. And since I don't work traditional that often, there's not a real big need for me to learn something new in terms of traditional materials.
I am being told that questions are coming through, but I'm not seeing them.
Oh.
So we have a special helper out there who's telling me one of the questions was what kind of brand, what kind and what brand do you use? I think you just covered that.
Okay, yep.
The other question is, how long does it take you to finish a piece?
Digital, it takes about 10 hours to do a headshot like this. Sometimes longer depending on the costume. And then in terms of traditional, I would say this might take closer to 3 or 4 hours, depending on how detailed I want to go and what kind of background I might put in and things like that. Good questions.
Another one. How did you get into drawing?
I've been drawing pretty much my entire life. If you follow me on Instagram, especially, I've been posting some Throwback Thursdays or Turnback Thursdays or whatever it is, crayon drawings from when I was like 6 years old. And so pretty much since then, I've been drawing my entire life. For a while, in middle school and high school, I wanted to be a comic book artist. And then during that time, I was also playing baseball and doing pretty well. So then my aspirations turned to being a baseball player. Um, and after playing in college, kind of near the end of my college career, it was pretty apparent that I wasn't going to be able to go pro. So um, I had been studying art while playing baseball in college, and was able to make a career out of it.
Next question. Do you work in quiet space or have music or something playing?
I usually have music playing, or sometimes even podcasts. It it's quiet right now because I don't want you to be distracted by the music. um, but yeah, I like to have music playing. I was actually telling my wife the other day that I have a funny recall where I can actually, if I hear a song on the radio, I can actually remember something that I was drawing while listening to that a long time ago. Um,
That's amazing. Not me. I could never. Do you want to give a shout out to the podcasts that you listen to, or do you want to keep that a secret?
Sure. I listen to my favorite podcast is Empire Online. It's done by the people that do Empire Magazine, which is a movie magazine in the UK. I'm a big movie buff, and so I really enjoy listening to that. They have interviews with all the actors and actresses and directors, and um, they also do movie reviews and things like that I find really interesting. And so that's one of them. I also listen to How Did This Get Made, which is a very funny podcast um, where they kind of take an in-depth look at uh, movies that maybe should not have gotten made. um, and so they're very funny. Um, at times, I've listened to Fat Man on Batman, which is Kevin Smith, or Babylon, which is also Kevin Smith. Uh, but the two main ones now are How Did This Get Made and Empire.
Next question. What is your who is your favorite superhero to draw?
Who's asking that question? My favorite superhero to draw. I think I mentioned earlier that I enjoy drawing Arrow. I like the show a lot. Um, I'm I can't think of the word. Um, I have a very deep respect for Stephen Amell and all the charity work that he does, and the way he interacts with his fans. I think is awesome. Um, and then, like I mentioned before, I really like drawing dark shadows. And so there is absolutely no shortage of black when it comes to drawing arrow. We have now moved on to French gray 40%.
What's the hardest piece or person you've ever drawn?
I was actually asked this yesterday. I was a guest speaker at an elementary school yesterday, which was a lot of fun. And somebody asked me that. One of the students asked me that. And I will always prefer drawing people and characters and things like that. I don't like drawing cars and buildings, and I'm much more comfortable drawing organic things. It's a little bit easier for me just because I don't have to be as precise.
So would you say that drawing your book, The Circle, is probably the hardest thing you've done?
Absolutely. Drawing The Circle, which is an illustrated novel I'm working on. I wrote it. I wrote the script, I would say, 9 years ago. And I funded it. I ran a campaign on Kickstarter for it in 2013, the end of 2013. And it was successfully funded. Thank you, backers. And it's incredibly hard for me to do that because all the reference and all the backgrounds and everything I have to, first of all, create before I can even start drawing. And that in itself is very time consuming. Whereas if I'm going to draw something for Arrow or Flash or whatever, I just do a trusty old Google search and am able to, pretty much within half an hour have everything I need to get started. And so creating locations and characters from scratch has been extremely time consuming. It's been fun because it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, but it's definitely taking a lot more time than I ever expected. Was that you asking about The Circle, or did somebody ask about that?
That's me.
Okay, that was you. I should have known.
Did you want to tell them what it's about? No. Okay. Question.
Okay.
When is the next alter ego piece debuting? And you might want to preface by telling people what it is in case they don't know.
Okay. So, excellent question. I do a series called Alter Egos. I've been doing it since the beginning of 2015. And it's essentially I do a side by side of the civilian identity and the hero or villain identity. And so it has been, I did series 1, which was 2015, and I did 12, basically one a month, plus 3 variants. And the first one was actually Arrow, of course. And then Series 2 has been this year, 2016. There are 2 left that have not been revealed. And I've also been running contests on our Facebook page where I'll post kind of the background of the piece without the characters there. And each background has the color scheme that's pretty much related to the character. And from that, I'll have people guess which character it is, and whoever is the first to correctly guess the identity of the alter ego receives number 1 of 100. And so I will actually be posting the contest for the next one, which would be the November release, Monday. I think I scheduled the post, I believe, for Monday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure to look out for that, and good luck with your guessing. I think what we might do, my last convention of the year is going to be Heroes and Villains, November 19th and 20th in Atlanta. And so I'm going to actually release the December entry early so that I have both November and December's at the show. And for December, since it's the last one of Series 2, and since, holidays and all that kind of stuff, we're feeling very generous. And not only will you win number 1 of 100 from the December release, you will win 6 other alter egos from the series.
So, I can't pronounce this guy's name, so I'm not going to try, but where did you get your light board?
I had a much larger one a long time ago, and it was just way too cumbersome. I had to actually set it up like a table, which was great for larger drawings, but not great for when you don't have room. And so I gave that one away. This one, I either got it from blickart.com or maybe even amazon.com. I don't remember. It's the Artograph Light Tracer 2 light box, if you're interested.
Are we going to London?
For Heroes and Villains?
Yes.
Yes, we are. We are going to London. We're very excited about it. I've never been there. My wife has, but it's very exciting. I love the Heroes and Villains conventions. I love the crew that puts them on. They've been so incredibly good to me, and I love seeing them at all the shows and talking to them online and everything. So yes, we're going, and I'm gonna get to see a whole new country, or at least part of a country.
So, Jen O'Brien is asking who your top 3 characters, your top favorite characters are to draw. So, next to Arrow, what are your next 2?
Let's see. Next to Arrow, that's an excellent question.
Superman?
I've drawn a lot of Superman. Um, I don't, I don't know that I could say that he's my favorite though. I
He's not in
actually,
your top three?
no, probably not.
Wow.
I did a lot of Christopher Reeve art for his foundation many, 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 many years ago, um, and I don't know if that got it out of my system or or what. I've since drawn Brandon Routh as Superman, and I've drawn Henry Cavill. I've drawn uh, Tom Welling from Smallville. Um, so he's definitely, other than Arrow, I think he's definitely the character I've drawn the most. Um, I do like, I like trying different characters. It's it's always fun to kind of challenge yourself. Um, and so if there's a character that has a costume that seems like it might be a challenge, or um, uh, a different actor or actress's face that might be difficult for me to do. I like trying new things. But I always seem to come back to Arrow.
Someone wants to know about reference. Did you talk about that already?
No, I did not. So reference, especially when you're trying to get the accuracy of a likeness, is really important. Um, I don't know any artist alive unless they're incredibly gifted that can draw uh, a likeness without looking at a picture. Um, I know there's some artists that can look at a picture and maybe draw the face in a different angle or something like that, and that's really impressive. Um, I am not that guy, uh, but I think it's really important. And any even comic book artists will tell you you have to use reference, uh, whether it's for a background or a car or a weapon of some kind of drawing or painting or whatever. Now, one of the things I will say is you don't have to be a slave to the reference. Um, you can you can do things to make it look better. One of my idols is Drew Struzan, and if you don't know the name, you know his work because he's done hundreds of movie posters, and he would always say that there's something about art that you can uh, give life to the subject that might not necessarily be there in the photograph, and and so I think that's one thing to keep in mind when you're doing the using the references. Don't just do what you see. Um, it's got to be kind of your interpretation of the reference, and um, so I think it's definitely reference is important, but it's not the be all end all. Um,
Trista Cadmio wants to know if you're gonna draw season 5 Green Arrow.
Eventually, of course, yeah. I've drawn season 1, season 2, 3 with the mask. Um, the season 1 was with the grease paint. Um, and yes, I definitely want to draw the season 5. I actually like it a lot. I'm a big fan of the sleeves. Um, I liked a lot of this season 4 costume that I'm drawing right now. Um, but I did not like the bare arms. Just from a tactical standpoint, it seemed like it made more sense for him to have sleeves, because it would be, first of all, it always looks cold and rainy in Star City, but also just in terms of fighting and going around the city and everything, he needs protection. So yes, eventually I will get to it.
David Jones wants to know if you have any interest in trying animation.
Not really. I when I was in college, my concentration was actually computer animation, and I couldn't get a job. uh, Part of the problem was that I wasn't really willing to move to California, which was silly on my part. But I ended up starting Odyssey in 2001, I believe, and that was, that has been pretty much what I've done ever since. One of the things with animation is you have to be able to draw a lot of things really fast, and fast is not what I do either. Um, I'm completely envious of my friend Lord Mesa, because he's not only really good and extremely clever, but he's so freaking fast. And that's not me. I can't do that. By the way, hi David.
If anybody wants to talk to us after this is over, email us at info@odysseyart.net.
Should I repeat that?
Okay.
Oh, I don't know if they can hear you.
Oh.
But
I think they can hear you.
The boss just said that if anyone wants to talk to us afterwards, because I don't know how long this can stream for, you can email us at info@odysseyart.net. This is right up there. And we can get back to you quickly. Obviously, you can also post on our Facebook page, or we're on Twitter and Instagram.
Your mother-in-law would like to know if her grandson helps you.
Helps me how? He's helping me right now because he's sleeping.
That's true.
And that's a huge help. We were definitely worried about whether he was going to be awake and crying for this.
Ryan Hester is asking about the first superhero you learned to draw or learned to draw well.
Um, I actually drew Superman a lot when I was a kid. I was very much a fan of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and I would draw him in crayon. Um, and actually, I posted some of those old crayon drawings, um, and one of them was him ripping open his shirt to reveal the S, and unknowingly, I did the exact same pose, same angle, same everything. 21 years later, as a digital piece, and I found the crayon drawing, after I had finished it, and it was like unbelievable. I couldn't believe that I had done the exact same thing.
Richie Lojek wants to know how long you've been attending conventions.
Let's see.
To sell.
To sell. I think 2003 was my first one. I had been working for a toy company, NECA, NECA, as most people call it, and we had done conventions, and I was working one of the conventions, and I was walking around the artist section, and I thought, this is pretty cool. Maybe I should try doing this. And so I ended up setting up at the same convention that I decided to. It was Chiller Theater in Secaucus, New Jersey, and they had like an October show, I guess, and then maybe like a March one. And so I set up in March, I'm pretty sure. Pretty much been doing it ever since. I took a little bit of a break for a while. And then just recently, a little bit over a year ago, I left NECA and started doing the conventions and art full time.
I have a question.
Okay.
I already know this, but you can. What inspired you to leave your stable job and do this full
time? So what inspired me to leave my stable job and do this full time? Well, my wife certainly had something to do with it. She has been incredibly supportive, not just for that, but for pretty much everything. She's good at cracking the whip and keeping me on schedule, and other than her, I would say that it's something I always wanted to do, and just never felt like I could make it work. It didn't seem possible until I'd say last year sometime. I started having some really good conventions, and that was pretty much it. That kind of sped up the process of me thinking, I might be able to do this. So
I think you owe a little bit of thanks to Jen Sincero.
Yes, Jen Sincero was a big influence. If you don't know who that is, she's an author, and she wrote a book called I don't remember the complete title. It's like How to Stop Living Your Mundane Life and start being a great one. But anyway, the title part that I remember is it's called "You Are a Badass," and it was very inspirational. I got the audio book, um, and I listened to it probably about 20 times. She's really funny, and it was just kind of the kick in the pants that I needed to finally get moving. Um, so if anyone wants to find out more about that book, I'd be happy to post uh, a link or something like that.
Mio is asking for Natalie. Who's your favorite Marvel superhero?
Favorite Marvel superhero. I know this is going to be kind of blasphemy because I'm known more for drawing the DC guys, but I was totally a Marvel guy growing up, and I kind of still am. Sorry. uh, my favorite growing up was Spider-Man. Um, I'm a big fan of Colossus from the X-Men, although I still think they could improve on his appearances in the movies. Um, but I like Cap. I've never really been an Iron Man fan until Robert Downey Jr. came along. He made Iron Man a lot more interesting, in my opinion. Um, One of the things you'll notice as I go along with the different shades is that you actually use the darker colors less and less. The more the darker you get, the less you're going to use that color, just because there's going to be less of that shadow. Um,
Will we ever go to Australia for our heroes and villains?
if they have a heroes and villains, sure, I would love to. Although that jet lag would kill me.
And Miss Anne, you know who you are, is asking for a friend. Can we maybe get a season 5 Bratva Oliver?
Yeah, probably. I'd still like to do. I know that Steven might not like this because he hated the wig, but I'd still like to do one from the island. Uh, flashback Oliver. Oh, well, that's what happens with marker. You drop it on the drawing and it can't erase it. Hopefully, we'll get to the point where that'll just get covered over.
Is there any chance of you doing the new Superman on Supergirl?
Actually, we watched the first episode last night, and I really liked him. I loved all the kind of nods to the Richard Donner Superman, the Miss Tessmacher, and the statistically speaking, flying is still the safest way to travel, and a lot of those lines. I thought they were great, and he looked good. The costume's good. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know how long he's sticking around, but I definitely have him on my list.
Mike Zimmerman wants to know your thoughts on the new season.
Arrow, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yes. We only watched the first episode so far. We've been busy with New York Comic Con, prepping for it, and then we, those are some really really long days in Artist Alley, because Artist Alley actually at New York Comic Con stays open an hour later than the show floor, and so we have not had time yet to watch anything more than the first episode. I'm really curious to see what the new recruits are going to be like. It's going to be fun to watch Oliver kick their butt, whip them into shape. And the fact that they got Dolph Lundgren as a villain is amazing. And Cody Rhodes is going to be on it, and I mean, should be good. I can't wait for the crossover with all the shows. I think that's going to be amazing.
So, how long would you say, or how close would you say you are to completion with this piece?
It's going to be a while, because that's just his skin. His skin is finished. I would have to go in, and I'm going to do some highlights with a white colored pencil, but I'll probably wait until all the rest of the shading's done before I do that. I'm just going to move on to his eyes now, but I mean, you can see how long that took just to do, a very small portion. Granted, the face is the most important part of it. It's the thing that you really need to kind of nail. But it still took a long time.
Any other questions, guys?
Wanted to thank everybody again for tuning in. This was a much bigger success than I could have hoped for, I think, in no small part because of Steven, notifying everyone. But hopefully if you guys enjoyed it, we'll do it again sometime soon. I also just wanted to remind everybody that if you haven't already, you have until Monday the 17th. If you order $20 or more from my store, you have a chance to win this Arrow shirt. This was a sample from the t-shirt company that I work with. And it'll just be kind of randomly inserted in somebody's package when we pack it up and send it off. So I will post the final piece when I'm done. But again, thank you everyone for tuning in. It was fun. I had fun talking about all different kinds of stuff. So again, if you want to get in touch with us, it's info@odysseyart.net, and you can also just post on our page, Odyssey Art on Facebook, or Odyssey Art Torch on Twitter. I think that's it. Boss, am I missing anything?
I think you're good.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a good night and have a good weekend.